Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Owner Show. I am so thrilled that you have decided to join us today on this Friday afternoon. And before I forget, make sure that you go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, Dr. Barnsley Brown. So just go subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. What amazing guests are coming. And today, we have Charmaine Diallo, who is a stress and sleep expert. She does healing work with people, helps them relieve their depression, their anxiety, helps them get a good night's rest. Because we all know if you don't get a good night's rest, how do you feel the next day? Like shit. So, Charmaine is here to help us not feel like shit, but to get a good night's sleep. And then we can have the stamina that we need for our business. Right, Charmaine?
Exactly. Yes. Getting enough sleep, but also being able to focus is so important. It's so important.
Yes, yes. The world actually, there's so little focus these days because, so many things are coming at us all the time and people are glued to their technology and kids are getting calluses from holding their cell phones. Seriously, we have a world that is frenetic and that is 24/7 if you
Hmm.
allow it to be, right?
Right. Right. That's a major issue. Yeah.
So, what do you see, Charmaine, as some of the greatest issues that are affecting people's peace of mind these days that are really
Absolutely.
impacting them?
Absolutely. So for business owners, I'm finding that being authentic in the ways that they are marketing and their sales, and also connecting with their own, real personality types and not just trying to mimic their coach or mimic, whoever they've seen that is successful, trying to just follow them because that's the only thing they know.
I love that. So, it's, people trying to force themselves into a kind of unnatural posture because they've seen somebody do that. And, yeah. And maybe would you say it's fear that's holding folks back from being that authentic voice, that authentic presence that they are?
Yeah, for sure. But I would say also people who are intuitive, like you and I, were probably trained by people who weren't in touch with their intuition or they weren't valuing intuition. And so everything is just cut straight, follow this square box, jump in, do this the same as everybody else. And people are becoming more and more intuitive and they're more and more in touch. And they still want to give great service and they still want to work with their clients, but they just don't want to do the old paradigm kind of way of doing things. And it feels more and more out of, sync with who they are.
I love that. And I think especially, as women, we are generally more in touch with our intuition. And, I know I was just earlier at an event and we were placed into breakouts and I was placed in three different breakouts with the three people in the event who I wanted to meet with, seriously. And
Amazing.
it was a woman running the event and I said, you must be absolutely telepathic because I met with exactly who I had deemed or had seen that would be the right people for me to meet with. And that's so interesting. I think when we begin to really connect with our intuition, then things just begin to come to us and it's so much easier, right?
Yes. Yes. That is exactly what I believe. And that is exactly what I teach. That, when you are yourself, when you step into your real personality, you're stepping into your power and you can be who you came here to be. And a lot of business owners are trying to do that already with their offering, but then their own personality has to come into it. And we've been taught, only these personalities or these methods work. And then people start feeling weird and, kind of icky because they're doing something they don't believe in.
right? Or that even just feels so unnatural.
Hmm.
I have, and being from, I know that you grew up in Durham, right? Charmaine,
Right.
just down the street from me at Chapel Hill. And, being raised Southern, I know that there were lots of times I needed to be, I was supposed to be more demure, etc.
Mm,
And I think I was that until about 16. And I was like, you know what? I want to be happy. I don't want to be
right.
this person anymore. I don't want to be the goody goody. I
Yeah.
don't want to be the one that is the model child in my family. I want to be me. And
Right.
that voice has just grown stronger and stronger. And post 50, it's like, hail to the yeah, I'm going to be me. And I'm freaking outrageous. And if you can't deal with it, then that's your issue, not
Right.
mine.
Exactly.
But as women, and especially Southern women, we get raised a certain way,
Hmm.
and it can feel like it can really feel that we're really going against a huge tide sometimes too,
Right.
when we're just being
Right.
ourselves.
Yeah. And a lot of people have left corporate for that reason. They didn't
Mm.
feel like they could be themselves. And then, boom, here they are, wide open, all these choices, and they still feel pigeonholed because they don't know how to access. So, exactly, you have to find a way to do that, get in touch with it, but then also see how you can move within it. It's not like, for example, if you're a mystic, that doesn't mean you have to be a yoga teacher, and no offense to yoga teachers or meditation leaders, but maybe you could be a yoga centered, let me say, mystic CPA, and be intuitive with people's books. That doesn't sound like it goes together, but if that's your personality type, it's probably your best bet. And then get rid of these stereotypes that we have in our head that only X personality can do this type of, offering.
I think that's powerful to think about, your right and your left brain actually
Yeah.
being both balanced, both used,
Hmm.
having your emotional intelligence as well as your analytical intellect working together like this, instead of being boom boom boom, or
Exactly.
just having one predominate, which definitely is what I did in graduate school, and it made me miserable years ago.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my god, I feel so different, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
And I do have a strong intellect, but letting only my intellect be running the show was just not working for me. And
Right.
so many people, I think, have this feeling, as you say, in corporate, or maybe they are a professor somewhere, or maybe they're just doing a job where they're expected to just basically live those eight
Hmm.
hours a day, or 10 hours a day, or 12 hours a day in their intellect, rather than also in their emotional and spiritual being, which is,
Exactly.
God, it's so limiting, right?
Yeah, for sure. That was something I ran into, but kind of the flip in my practice. People were coming and they wanted to do spiritual things, but they also wanted structure so they could learn and they had expect outcomes, and it wasn't just airy fairy.
Yeah.
So that's where I've come in, and I've taken a look at my personality, but also what people were looking for. And that's exactly right. People want both. They don't want to have two separate lives. They want to have spirituality in their, everyday practical, so to speak, life.
Right. And spirituality, by the way, you all, I just want to say, by spirituality, we're not talking about a particular religion. We're not talking about a particular dogma you have to
Mhm.
believe, but just a connection to the creative spirit that is within you. And you
Yep.
might have different names for that. You may say
Mhm.
divine spirit, you may call it energy, you may call it like physics, you may call it Allah, whatever you call it. Yeah, you may call it Yahweh, you may call it God,
Mhm. Right.
whatever it is. You may just call it universal love, whatever that is, but to have that connection, because truthfully, that is the most important connection we can ever have. Everything has got to stem from there, and not from what the external world is telling us we have to do or be or
Right.
say, which is what I hear you, those prescriptions that we get from
Mhm.
people are really sometimes just downright effed up. Let me just say,
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
effed up because no one else can tell us. This is why my Make It Happen Mastermind, actually, no one else can prescribe to us exactly what we need to be doing in our business. And I have very, very conscientiously and intentionally made my program a boutique, high level, small program
Hmm.
because I don't want to prescribe
Right.
everything, that this is the path for everyone, for all the 200 people in my program, or all the 500, or all the
Right. Right.
5,000. I want to be able to go to exactly what someone needs right at that moment in a way that fits their personality, their style, and their soul.
Hmm. Hmm. That's what people want. They want to be understood. We already went through grade school and, cookie cutter classes. We already did that. And,
Yeah,
people wouldn't be reaching out for support if that was enough, to get you
right.
where you wanted to be. Yeah.
Exactly, and there wouldn't be such a low success rate with those huge courses either,
Right.
if they really worked. I've said this before. I have a 97% success rate, and that's really, I'd love to claim that that's because of me, blah blah blah, but it's not. It's because of the structure.
Right.
Seriously,
Right.
because of
Yeah.
the structure that has been
Hmm.
created through me and that I sustain, and the community, and that's where it comes, but not from me. It's from a confluence of many different things, and the four pillars that I have in my program, for instance, that are training, accountability, coaching, and community. So
Yeah.
tell us about
Hmm.
the 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 underpinning of your work, because
Hmm.
you work with a lot of empaths, right?
Hmm. Yes.
And also you work with people who don't realize it, but they are empaths.
Right. Right. Yeah. So the majority of the people that I attract to me are sensitive to energy. So, like I said before, they could be a CPA, they could be a, music teacher. It doesn't matter. But in their everyday dealing with other people, they're picking up people's stress. They're picking up their overwhelm. They're being drained, by whatever people they encounter. That's something, that they want to get a handle on so they can
Mm,
do whatever they want to do and get wherever they want to go, but be comfortable, you know. And my focus is on entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs understand that they have something they want to give, but they need to take care of themselves. And most people have left to become an entrepreneur because they couldn't do that wherever they were. So, yes,
mm.
definitely people who are sensitive, people who are intuitive.
Okay, now
Mhm.
that's interesting. Mhm. Let's go back for a second. So what I'm
Yeah,
hearing is that they've become entrepreneurs because they want to take care of themselves, but they left where they were before because they couldn't do it. And
right.
now they're finding themselves with so much to juggle, and they're
Hmm.
really realizing they have got to become managers of their own energy and their
Hmm.
own energetic, if you will, output and input
Exactly.
too.
Yeah,
Does
absolutely.
that Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when
Hmm.
somebody comes to you, what are they saying, Charmaine? Like, what are they saying when they come to you?
Hmm.
"Oh my god, I'm so tired." What kinds of things are they
Yeah, people
saying
people
to
are saying
you
they're
when they
tired. I
find
hear
you?
over. Hmm. I hear overwhelmed. I hear, they feel like their boundaries are not in place. So people are taking advantage of their time. People are wasting their time. People are trying to get more service than what they've, signed up for, and just disrespect in general. But also people who are feeling they can't find their authentic style around sales, around marketing. They don't feel good, and some of the tactics that are taught don't feel right. It doesn't sit right with them.
Mhm.
So those kind of things. Hmm.
Interesting. So they're trying, again, they're trying to do things according to kind of a formula that's out there, but the formula is not working.
That's right. That's right. They see people getting success. They try to follow the formula because it's proven, it's worked for some people. But in their intuition, in their gut, they don't feel good about it. I'm calling these people because my coach said to, but I know they don't want to talk to me, or I know it's not the right time. Like they already know that, and maybe they're not attracting the right people to them because of whatever's going on with them, those kind of things. So they're kind of in a catch 22. They don't want to talk to the people they have, but then they can't find the people that they want. So that's what I help with.
I think that we've got a little bit of a wonky connection. Did you, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Let's
you.
see.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Well, that might have been a little bit of going in and out. So can you repeat the last like 30 seconds that you shared?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So a lot of people they're feeling inauthentic and they're trying to follow, like you said, a prescription that somebody gave them, and it's not working out. They're uncomfortable and they're kind of stuck because they're not bringing in new leads, as you said, but then they also don't want to talk to the ones that they've attracted because either they're not aligned with what the person is offering, or the people they've attracted are based on the scarcity that they have, or the fear that they have, or beliefs about what they're doing. A lot of people who switch from, say, a practical career to a healing modality or using their intuition more, they have a whole lot of things about intuition and healing that they need to clear,
Mm,
before they can do it. Where it didn't affect them when they were a PE teacher. It wasn't even a part of the equation.
right. That was,
Hmm.
yes, it wasn't even part of the equation. I
Yeah.
just heard someone say earlier that our businesses expand to the level that we heal,
Yep.
that we do our own healing work. And, by healing, you all, I just mean getting in touch with who you really are, celebrating that, loving that,
Hmm.
uh, feeling in your power with that.
Right.
All of that actually will expand our businesses, because if our mindsets and our spiritual being isn't right, then nothing will work out. And I've always said this, when your business gets slow, and you all, especially those of you who are new business owners, listen to this. When your business is getting slow, you've got an opportunity there.
Mm.
There is either something for you to identify and work with and heal, or maybe you've just been pushing too hard and it's time to be in receptive mode. And the universe is giving you some time out. So use
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Use
Yeah.
it for your spiritual development. Use it for your business development. Use it for being with yourself.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And one thing I would like to add is, a lot of times, again, we're getting that message that if you're not busy, if you're not doing something, then you're not in the right spot. But like you said, maybe this is, a time. Just because the door closed doesn't mean you'll never open it. Maybe right now you need to just sit down and go within and work on it. Now, if you're in a position where you're not meeting your needs, then you may need to do something else temporarily. People hate to hear that because it sounds like failure, but it's not. It's
Mm-mm.
not. Beating your head up against the wall continually is failure, honestly.
Right. And pretending you're not doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying, maybe I need to have a rest, or maybe, like you said, I need to backpedal a bit. There's nothing wrong with any of that. You have to make it right though. You can't be making yourself wrong about those types of things.
And that is something like the pacing of business is so interesting, because,
Hmm.
there is a huge amount of stamina required on every level: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. required to do
Mhm.
what we do. There is so much stamina required. And I like to say to people, folks will say, well, that's a soft skill, self-care. No, it's not a soft skill at all. If there isn't self-care, and if you're not getting a good night's rest, to come back to
Mhm.
that piece of it, then you're not going to be at your best. You're definitely not going to be happy. And people are drawn to people who exude
There you go.
happiness, who
There you go.
exude,
Mhm.
and I don't mean this kind of happy. I don't mean that. I
Right.
mean
Fake stuff.
just a good, that they're good in their skin. They feel good in their
Mhm.
skin, and they're on purpose, and they're tapped in and turned on in life. They're in the flow. They're present. That's what draws people. It's that
Right.
energy. So
Mhm.
so let me ask you this. I know that as we were talking before this, you were talking to me about a lot of people waking up in the middle of the night. And I found this so interesting. I've always heard that 4 to 5 in the morning are the best times to be awake because everything's peaceful. There's less disturbance. There less, just less waves of energy, period,
Yeah. Yeah.
because folks are asleep. And then I heard you saying, well, there are also folks who are waking up and they're actually being woken up because of some energetic draining that's happening. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you know, there are different spiritual abilities. And when I say spirit, again, this is being in touch with the energy of all there is, right? So at 3 a.m., people who have passed away are that haven't crossed over, haven't gone to the heavenly realms, are still here on earth, and that's when they're kind of active. That's rush hour, so to speak. So they're out looking for people who can hear from them, and there's really just one type of ability that can actually communicate. Now, lots of different types of abilities can sense, and oh, there's something here, right? But one type of ability, which is mediums, they can actually, I should say, we can communicate back and forth. And that's for a couple of different reasons. Mediums, of course, on TV, Hollywood, they're shown as being able to speak to the dead, get messages. And yes, we can do that. But our goal is to get those people to leave this realm because they're causing issues. They're causing health problems. They're
Mhm.
waking up mediums. They're waking up small children, scaring pets, but they're also causing actual health problems for some people who are sensitive to them. So it's imperative that they go. And everyone can to a certain degree be in contact with maybe a loved one recently passed away, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone whose actual gift is to be able to communicate and say, hey, this is not your place. You need to cross over. Go ahead and do that. But you're still just really talking to a person. But waking up at 3 a.m. is like a telltale sign that you have that ability.
Okay, so I want y'all to hear that. Okay, and now I know there's some people who are like, "Oh my God, are they talking about the dead? Are they talking about mediums? Oh my God, we are getting way out there." Well, you all, what can I say? You know, we're on bold, badass business owners. We talk about everything. We talk about stuff you may never have heard of, and you may be like, I don't believe that. That's okay. But I would
Hmm.
just say to you, listen, just listen. Because this information may be useful to you at some point in your life. You may find you're waking up at 3 in the morning. And I myself, I'll tell you, Charmaine, for the longest time, I have had smoke alarms that go off in my house in the early morning. I have
Hmm.
had a CO2 alarm that goes off. I have all sorts of stuff happen in my house. And I know, I know
Hmm.
it's somebody who's visiting. I always know.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just sit down and ask, who's here. And a lot
Hmm.
of times the messages are really sweet. It's like my
Hmm.
grandmother, and she's coming to just let me know she's here.
Hmm.
She leaves pennies for me everywhere, Charmaine.
Oh,
I find
yeah.
pennies everywhere. I can't go anywhere without seeing like a trail of pennies up to the door of my car.
Nice.
Or I go into a room and there's a pile of pennies right there on the table. And or I find pennies in my car when no one else has been in there.
Right.
So she leaves me pennies, which is very sweet. So a lot of the visits are sweet, but
Mhm.
sometimes the visits we get are not the ones we want to get. And I will say, you all, whether or not you believe in heaven or anything beyond this, let me just say it is a law of physics that energy is never lost or gained.
There you go.
It just changes form. And
Mhm.
so someone is going to change form. We're going to change form when we die. I mean, our physical
That's
being
it.
dies. It's just like
Mhm.
water going into, steam or whatever
Coming down his
other
brain.
physical
Mhm.
changes, right? We're going to change form, but people can get stuck here
Yep.
for a variety of reasons, because
Okay.
maybe they had an accident and don't even realize they're dead.
That's
Or
one of the
maybe,
main ones. Yep.
I know, right? Maybe they committed suicide, or maybe they had a heart
Mhm.
attack just like that.
Yep.
One day they're playing Parcheesi with their family, and then they're like, where's the Parcheesi board? Now, I don't mean to, I'm being funny, but I'm
Right.
serious about this, you all. And
Yeah.
I've witnessed a lot of things, Charmaine, in the work
Yeah.
I've done with Reiki for, gosh, 31 years now.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
interestingly, one of the teachers of my teacher, Virginia Samdal, was also a medium. And this
Mhm.
was never something she intended. It wasn't like she's like, yeah, let me talk to the dead. It happened because guess what? She got in
Mhm.
touch with her spirit and she
Yep.
developed her abilities. There are a lot of things she did to study and develop her abilities. And then it started happening. So I want you
Mhm.
to hear what Charmaine said about that. At 3 a.m., if you are waking up, and I don't just mean because you drank a huge 2-liter pitcher of water
Right.
and you're post 50, but if you are waking up at 3 a.m. and you're not able to sleep, or you're having electronics going off in your house at that
Mhm.
time,
Yep.
or maybe you're hearing some knocks, oh, yes, or
Mhm.
something is crashing. I've had stuff just
Yep.
crash in another room. I'm like, okay, whatever's happening like that is telling you that you are a person who has some abilities. And just
Yeah.
think of it like a radio. You can tune that radio, and if it's tuned, you can hear the voice on the other end. You can hear
Yep.
the broadcaster. But if it's not tuned, it's going to be like rah, rah, rah. So maybe you're a person who hasn't tuned up those abilities yet, or maybe you have.
Mhm.
But if you're
Mhm.
waking at 3 a.m., this is what I'm hearing, Charmaine.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe it's time to investigate this.
Yeah. And I wanna add, thank you, Barnsley, for putting that in really practical terms because people tend to go off somewhere else when you start saying, those types of things.
The
But
dead.
so,
The
yeah,
dead.
I mean, I was scared to death when I first found out, but then when I understood they're just people, they just don't have bodies anymore.
Yeah,
They're just
that's
people
right.
that you'd see on the street. But I want to tell anybody that's like, no, 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 this is not me. No, no, no. I just want to tell you, this is a free will universe. You know, you don't have to participate just
Right.
because you have the ability. You don't have to participate. Or you
Exactly.
can say, I don't want to participate right now. I want to get more knowledge and then participate. These are all your choices. You're not, ever forced to do anything. Please contact me and I will tell you how to keep them from disturbing you or tell you how to make it so it's just on Sundays at 2 so that you have control over the situation. But it doesn't have to be like, oh God, I have this ability. I have to do this thing that I don't want to do. I don't want to stop doing my career that I love. It's not about that. It's you may just be passing this ability on to your grandkids. There's 6 generations between me and the last person in my bloodline who's been a healer. All of these people were just carriers to get it to me. And I thank them. I thank my parents. I thank everyone. They weren't interested. They were really oblivious, but
That is
not
fascinating. They
required.
were
Yeah.
all carriers.
Yep.
Oh, y'all
That's
think
it.
about that, think about it in terms of your spiritual DNA and your actual DNA, you know, it just because you have a certain gene doesn't mean it's going to express through you. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to, because so and so has a disease, you're going to get it. And it
Exactly.
doesn't mean in this case, because somebody has this spiritual DNA in them, that you're going to have to follow it. Yes, it's a free will universe. And there'll, of course, be those people who are like, that's the work of the devil. And for you
Then
all,
you don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm just
There
going
you
to
go.
say, I'm just going to say, look, all right. Actually, if you read the Bible, all right, and I do love the Bible, and I do read a lot of different spiritual texts. One of the gifts of the Spirit is prophecy. I mean, the gifts of the Spirit are pretty out there, like laying on of hands. Oh, yeah,
Mhm,
they're
mhm.
pretty out there, in
Yes,
fact. And prophecy, like you can tell what's going to happen, that's pretty way out there.
yeah.
Raising the dead, would you agree that that was pretty out there
Mhm,
for Jesus
mhm.
to raise Lazarus and other people from the dead? All
Yep.
right, so you could say a lot of that stuff is really fantastic, like in the sense of, wow, that's fantasy. But is it?
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
We know from Einstein that we're only using a tiny portion of our brain.
Mm. Now you're talking my stuff. Exactly.
Yeah, you're only using a portion of your
Yeah.
brain. And
Mhm,
plus your brain that's right up here, people, this
mhm,
brain, let me
mhm,
just tell you, it ain't that important. They are already showing that your gut has a brain, your heart has a brain. And in fact, there are
mhm.
more telomeres in your gut brain than up here.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, y'all? I mean, there is this whole another world, and even in theoretical physics, you see this. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You
There you
can't
go.
see the smallest subatomic particles that they keep coming up with. It's like those Russian dolls, they keep coming up with a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one. And you can't see them like the Russian
Right,
doll, but does it mean it doesn't exist?
right, right.
Just saying. Now this is
Yeah.
getting, I like this. This is getting interesting. Well, here's the thing. What if you were to ask, now I'm going to say this to you all. I definitely do ask for some advice from my
Oh,
ancestors.
yeah. Oh,
I do.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
ask for advice, and I know I just went through a situation that was very tough.
Mhm.
That was tough with a, let's say, with a tenant, a
Yeah,
client, and
yeah.
I kept finding pennies everywhere. And I know that was my
Mm.
grandmother just saying, keep going,
Yeah.
just keep going. What's the next step? What's the next
Mhm.
step? You're doing fine.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd sweep the floor and a penny would be back
More
there.
penny. Yeah.
Why? Because it was encouragement.
Right.
And so what I would say to you is to ask if you're open to this. You can
Mhm.
definitely ask the people you love who have already changed form, i.e., passed, died,
Mhm.
kicked the bucket, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Guess what? 100 out of 100 people will kick the bucket. That's a real statistic. It's going to happen. So maybe they kick the bucket. Well, why don't you ask for a little help, especially from the ones who have some business sense? And my grandfather was a great business person.
Mhm.
So Charmaine, a lot of times I'll ask for that. I'll ask for that advice, then I'll go to sleep and I'll have some sort of dream in which
Mhm.
he shows up.
You absolutely should. That's a
Yeah.
part of my program. I teach that not so much with ancestors, but with your angels.
Yes.
You have an angel that's here to protect you. Everybody kind of knows about guardian angels, but there's also purpose angel. And that
Mm,
angel is helping you. And if you're in your purpose, they're the best person to ask for advice. And it's no different than talking to your grandmother before she passed away. It's not different. These are people. They have experience, they're just in a different realm. So if this is, too far out for someone, the idea is that everyone's protected, everyone's guided,
mhm.
however you want
Yeah.
to think about it. And if you're open to it, you should tap into it and you should, see how it can benefit you. Why not? Everyone's looking for an advantage in business. Why not take advantage of something that's free and that's there for you?
Exactly. And why not? I mean, I'm going to say to the people who are like, well, this is way out. This is like really way out. Those of you who are thinking that, Well, why not be open? Like, let's get a screwdriver and pry that mind open. Because have you ever had somebody say something? I certainly have in business where somebody suggested something and I was like, oh no, oh no. But it's way more interesting to have an open mind and just to see,
See what
you know,
happens. Yeah.
just to see what happens.
See what
So I'll have
happens.
people who are like, yeah, I don't really believe in Reiki. And I'm like, you don't have to believe in it for it to work.
There you go. There you go. You don't have to believe in
No.
gravity either. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you
Totally
jump off
optional.
a building, you're going to splatter. Let me just say, it's going to work. Gravity is going to work on you.
Yeah.
When you say the word angels, I know there's some people who are
Mhm.
like, well, I don't really believe in angels. Some will say, I believe in angels. Let me say, there's so many forms of helpful beings
There you
out
go.
there. For
Whatever word you want to
example,
use.
I love animals. And if you believe in certain Native American beliefs, I really am very drawn to Native American cosmology, then it becomes a totem animal. A totem
Mm.
animal is just like a guardian for
Mhm.
you, like a guardian angel
Mhm.
that guides you. And you could also have, if you are in I think it's the Yoruban culture, it could be a familiar where you have
Mm.
a particular animal that's around you. It could be your house cat. I definitely have
Mhm.
had cats that were familiars for me, and they were
Mhm.
like soul protectors. I have a
Yeah.
dog now named
Yeah.
Buddy, and Buddy is definitely a soul protector. So you can have many forms of support. And this is
Mhm.
interesting because I have a seminar on people on your team, and I do talk about your counselor because I think everybody needs one. Your
Mhm.
counselor, and I definitely talk about your coach, your insurance agent, etc. But I want you all to think for a second, well, who else is on your team? How about all of the people who love you wherever they are, here on the planet or beyond,
Mhm.
who love you, who have made an imprint on your life? Aren't they
Yeah.
part of your team?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
But
are.
then, even if that's too far for somebody to go, one of the other things that I help people do is tap into their personality. So let's say you don't want to deal with any of that. No problem. We'll turn that off, unplug that radio. You won't get the signal at all. But who you are is going to stay with you no matter what, you
Mhm.
know. And
Yeah.
as women, many of us have been pigeonholed into that mother nurturing
Mhm.
um, place, which is fine. I'm that for my daughter for sure, but that's not a strong part of my personality. And sometimes it's even a stretch for me.
Mhm.
People who are healers, and I'm saying this, if you have, if you may identify with this, if you're not super nurturing and you're a woman, mystics use their nurturing creative energy, that same energy that creates children, to heal. So
Mhm.
if you don't feel super cuddly and you don't want to hold other people's babies, this is me kind of giving you some permission and an idea that maybe your creative female energy is going in that direction instead of procreation. Not saying you shouldn't have kids, but maybe you're done with that and you've switched gears too. There's other options. So the point is, when you go to work with people, I help you to show up as who you really are. So you're not pretending to be whatever you were taught women should be or whatever you were taught you should be when you were growing up. You're showing up as who you actually are, and then understanding how you attract personally. My personality type is very passive. Even though I'm very talkative and I like to be with people, my business attraction personality is passive. So going and beating the pavement and doing stuff on social media has to be passive for me. It can't be reaching out, doing these things, because that's outside of my natural energy. Some people's energy is very, they're like a net. They pull you in, and that's fine. That's natural for them. But a lot of people who feel kind of icky when they have to have these lists to call and all these things, maybe they need to know, really, is that your personality? Does that fit with your style? And if not, here's another way. You can use your intuition, you can use your mind to pull people to you who are interested, not just anybody, people who are in line with what you're looking for.
I love that. Yes. And it took me a while to realize that one of the reasons I chose academia is because at heart, I'm a hermit. Very, and I don't mean that, I'm like this, a hermit
Right.
crab. I mean, I am I'm hermetic. I
Mm-hmm.
really get a lot of energy from doing Reiki, from being in that energy, from doing spiritual studies, from walking in nature, from just being. I get
Mm-hmm.
writing. I get a lot of energy there. And so it was absolutely not my energy. And this will really surprise people because they're like, you're out there, you're so out everywhere. No, you don't. I'm very selective about where I show up. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm very selective about the people I meet with, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I am just super selective because life
Yeah.
is short and I don't have time
Yeah.
to be misaligned. I
Mm-hmm.
don't choose to spend my time in misalignment. So it's pretty rare that I have the experience of that now. I mean, that's taken many years to learn, but
Yeah.
to really respect it, what I'm saying is look at and respect who you are, because
Mm-hmm.
being an academic was probably the closest to being an entrepreneur I could have ever been outside of being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Because truthfully, I was writing, I was doing publishing, I was, teaching, I was doing the things I do now, I was doing communication, and I was studying. It's all the things that I do now,
Right.
as well, plus more
Yeah.
that I do now. But I thought about that and I realized, I thought, well, that's cool that I chose that. I understood that about myself. But
Mm-hmm.
those of you watching may be saying, I'm not sure where I can feel expressed,
Mm-hmm.
self-expressed. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure how to build my business. I mean, that's where you come to me and I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you get your message in line with who
Mm-hmm.
you are,
Right.
and you can come to Charmaine and do some work on really being in your power,
Yeah.
in your power, in the power of you,
Right.
which is absolutely one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
One of a
Exactly.
kind. Think about that. You ain't passing through again like this. Maybe you'll come back as a cow next time. I would like to be a cat because to clean up my poop for me and just,
I know, right?
and just let me just sleep all day in different spots in the sun. But you all, we've got choices. This is the point
Mm-hmm.
here. You got choices. It's a free will universe. You can be sitting there and say, "Oh, what the f are they talking about today?" or you can be like, "I am so curious about this." And did Barnsley say that she has mediumistic abilities? Yes, I did. I did, and
Yeah.
actually, it's on my list of things to really study and pursue more.
Right. Right.
It
Yeah.
is, Charmaine. It's on my list of things, to actually uh, do some more work with that.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. For
Heck yeah,
sure.
why the heck not? So let me ask you this. Give
Mm-hmm.
everybody, as we begin to wrap up here, you've just given us a lot to think about. And I know some people are like, shit, I wake up at 3 p.m. I mean 3 a.m. Oh no, that means are dead or talking to me. But tell me, tell
Yeah.
me, Charmaine. Yeah, they're saying hello.
You're so silly. They're already freaked out. Brian's like, stop it.
Hello. Charmaine, you need to get a new website URL. No, seriously, you all, if you're waking up at 3 a.m., there's something you need to do. Charmaine, give
Yeah.
everybody one thing, please, like a specific strategy that we can
Mm-hmm.
use if we keep waking up at 3 a.m. to
Yes.
just get whatever's going on board, to do it at a time that we prefer. Like, you said Sunday afternoon at 2. That sounds good. But
Yeah.
not 3
Yeah.
a.m.
For now, just say, I do not want this. I do not want visitors at any time. Just blanket statement, and if you're curious, of course, contact me. I have a freebie, a free gift where you can
Mhm.
take a quiz and find out, am I really a medium, or do I have adrenal fatigue or whatever? And then you can have a complimentary session with me and we can talk about what you can do, how you can develop it. But if you're one of the people that's like, no, thank you, just put it out there, verbally set your intention. I don't want to be disturbed. And
Mm-hmm.
that'll be the end of it, because this is a free will universe. Now, if you keep getting disturbed after you have stated, your name, do not want to be disturbed anymore, then we need to talk, because you've got energy on you that says, I have to serve, or I don't deserve rest. You've got something going on that's keeping your free will from being obeyed, right?
Hmm.
So, but if all you want to do is just stop it, just say it. That's the main thing that a lot of people have missed. They don't know that they have the power to just say, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. And that's the end of it.
And if it does intrigue you, you could certainly let them set an appointment, a spiritual appointment for a
That's
certain time.
great.
I've definitely done my version of this, Charmaine, where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is not okay right now, but
Yeah.
tomorrow morning I will sit and I will listen. I promise. I really will. And to set off the smoke alarm again. Um,
Yeah, you absolutely may not.
Really, you don't need to do that again. And let me
Yeah.
just say, for those of you who are like, what's she saying? Oh, I replaced the batteries. Yes, I did several times. Oh,
Yeah.
don't say to me, oh,
Yeah.
it was the batteries were bad. No, it wasn't. I had replaced them multiple times. So we do, that's interesting. We can just say I and
Yeah.
state our name. Do not want to be disturbed at night. Let me sleep. Just as
Yeah.
we would if our children were rushing in and say, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy.
Right. A stranger on the street. I
Yeah.
don't want to give you my number. I don't want to be in contact with you. It's like that.
Yeah.
And then if you said, well, I do want to later, that's fine, but get your sleep now. Get your sleep
Yes.
now.
And something
Yeah.
I'm also really hearing from what we've talked about today that I hope everyone has heard, um, is that rest, give yourself permission to
Mhm.
rest.
Mhm.
Resting is not inactive. It is not inactive.
Right.
It is a time for you to process things. It's a time to integrate what's been going on in your life. It's a time to renew and refresh. It's a time to wipe the slate clean, so to
Mhm.
speak, so that actually something else could show up.
Yeah.
And I definitely, after the experience I alluded to, I took a couple of days, I call them pajama days,
Yeah.
where I just, I thought about putting on clothes and it was like, no, I'm going to stay in my pajamas all day.
Yeah.
And the thing about pajama days is it's just resting,
Mhm.
resting. And resting didn't mean I didn't do anything. I could go and organize something if I
Right.
wanted, but it was just rest from the usual routine,
Mhm.
from the usual work,
Right.
from all of that. So give yourself permission to rest, everyone, because when you do that, you're opening up a space.
Mhm.
You're opening a space in your consciousness for something else to come
Something else.
through.
Yep.
Would you agree, Charmaine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would add, especially as women, we have to just kind of take it sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when my daughter was super small, I would just go to bed, because if I said, asked for help,
Mm-hmm.
I may get it, may not. But if I just went to bed and I passed out, nobody, was just like, figure it out. There's food in there somewhere. And that's kind of like a pajama day. It's like, I don't want to today. I'm taking a break.
Right.
Yeah.
And interesting how that
Mhm.
impacts your your way of being. So rest is not inactive. In fact,
Mhm.
resting so that you can actually enjoy what you're doing is very, very important. And when we take rest, then we can come back and we have better focus, to bring it
Mhm.
back to the idea of focus that we started with. We can have better focus. And we also can figure out what to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, what I see and with my folks I work with, Charmaine, is they're running around like little hamsters before they meet me. It's like, I'm on my little hamster wheel.
But I'm doing something, right?
Busy.
Yep.
And I like to show them, hello, you're doing, what if I told you you're 80% of what you're doing is a bunch of shit,
Mm,
you don't
mhm.
need to be doing it. And you
Yeah.
could actually pare down and there would be just a few things that you would actually do and your business would thrive more.
Yeah. That's what we're here for, though. It's hard
Yeah.
to see that when you're in the middle of it. But yeah,
Well, it's like that
exactly.
frog, the proverbial frog that's, in the pan, and you heat up the water and they don't realize, and so they get cooked. But if you heat the water first and then you throw the frog in, the frog's like, "Hell, I'm getting out of here."
Jump out right away.
Same
Hmm.
way, y'all, stress, if you're in the midst of it, like you're saying, Charmaine, it's very hard to realize, oh my gosh, look at all these things that have been on my plate that I've been dealing with. And that's where having a coach, having help, having some
Hmm.
sessions, having that complimentary session that Charmaine talked about can help you. So everyone, I want you to get that complimentary session. And what's your website, Charmaine, for them?
It's recall, just like on the screen, recall truth, no spaces or anything.com. And there's a place where you can just click and you'll receive the free quiz and you'll be able to schedule some time with me and we can talk about, what's overwhelming you. What can we do to make your work easier, make your life easier?
And I hope y'all picked up that you can have it be on the level that you want it. So it can be very practical.
Hmm.
And if you don't want to get into some of the stuff we've talked about, like why you're waking up at 3 a.m, then you can just say, I don't want to talk about that. And that's okay.
Right.
Charmaine will not say, I'm not working with you. Um,
No, no.
she'll work with you at the level that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, there. And I would also say to you, I always forget this, but go and I have a free ebook, which is on, interestingly, how to avoid overwhelm.
Look at that.
Yeah, 7 easy ways, how to avoid overwhelm in 7 easy steps. And it's fun. It has strategies in it. I don't talk about what we talked about today, but there are other strategies you can use in it. It's particularly helpful to those of us who are business owners, or if you're thinking about being a business owner, because guess what? At the very beginning, you're going to be wearing a lot of hats, and you're going to
Hmm.
be juggling a lot.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very important that you have this information. So, Charmaine, I want to thank you for coming on. And I want to thank all our helpers who are here. Woo! We got to have some fun with this.
For
And
real.
I'm
For
just
real.
hearing it now. I'm just hearing it now. Like somebody saying, "Oh crap. Right after I watched this that night, I got woken up at 3 a.m." You all, hey, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible
Yeah.
in life. And we're not just our bodies. We are definitely
Hmm.
not just our bodies. One of the most interesting things, maybe we can finish here, Charmaine,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I'm sure you've heard this. Um, there are actually people researchers who have weighed the body before someone dies,
Hmm.
and then they've weighed the body after someone dies, and
Ah.
there is a difference.
Hmm.
And that just to me is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not a huge difference. It's not like 15 pounds.
Right.
There is a
It's
difference.
enough to measure.
Exactly. Enough
Uh-huh.
researchers to measure, which
Hmm.
is a very compelling way for those of you who are like, we don't have a soul. We don't. Well, if we don't have a soul, then why,
What's
after
the
you
weight?
die, why does your weight go down?
Right.
What are you
Right. That's
weight?
amazing.
You know,
Yeah.
something's not there. What is that thing that's not there?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
is that?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, we won't disturb people anymore with that. But
Look, this show is all about disturbing people. It's all about
yeah,
you all, you
shake it
all
up.
as business owners, shake it up
Shake
and
it
look
up.
at something new. And maybe you didn't think about that your team is composed of the people you love here on the planet and those who've left the planet. Maybe you didn't think
Mhm.
about that. And maybe you didn't think about your help that's like a totem animal or an angel. And maybe now, those of you who are watching, who's going to start asking your angels, and you don't have to know their names, hey, what do you recommend here?
Right.
Or just at least getting in touch with your intuition. Sit
That's
for a
what I was
second.
gonna say.
Yeah,
That's
just
what I was gonna
sit and
say,
ask,
just
what's the next
quieting to
step?
hear that. Mhm.
listen to that inner voice,
Yeah.
because it always knows what to do. And those of you watching, you know this, because you know in your business when you've done something that didn't feel right, you went
Mm.
ahead and signed up for the course, or you went ahead and partnered with that person, or you went ahead and whatever, you know, got the services from XYZ company, and then it didn't go right. But you felt before some uneasiness. Well, that
Yeah.
was your intuition talking to you and saying, this is a no-go.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. But it takes a lot to get in touch with it, and there to learn the strategies you can use to be in touch with your intuition. And I dowse, Charmaine, and
Mhm.
I use lots of different forms of guidance. And
It's helpful.
yeah, it really is helpful, because there is no manual for life, and
No.
there's no real manual for your business either.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so we get to create it, y'all. All right, well, Charmaine, I really want to thank you for coming again. You all go get your complimentary session with Charmaine at recalltruth.com, and be sure and share this. Oh, it's going to be fun for you to share this with your business colleagues and friends. They're going to be like, "What the heck?" But
Or they
hey,
might be thinking,
they
"Hmm,
wondered their whole life why they've been waking up at 3 a.m. and now it'll give them an answer. You just never, never, ever
no."
know.
Yep.
And it will be fascinating to find out. Share this, like it. Please, again, go subscribe to Bold Badass Business Owners so that you don't miss a single episode. Some amazing guests coming up, all sorts of interesting, edgy, and even controversial topics that may push your buttons and may push you beyond, definitely push you beyond what you think you know.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Charmaine. Wonderful to have you on the show. And we'll see you next week, y'all, 4:30 Eastern, right here. Be here.
Thank you,